The secret to success for leadership is stepping back and realizing that in order to lead others well, in order then to lead a company or organization well, you must first lead yourself. And the center point of being able to lead is to lead yourself. And that means you must do so with humility and understand that you don't know everything. You still have a lot to learn, that you have to continually up level and improve yourself so that you can serve others more effectively.
Hello, Dusty. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. So great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Beautiful, man. And thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Dusty, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Dusty, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, Dusty, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. Say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Dusty, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Dusty, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango
Mm.
tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. And not just mangoes now, Dusty, I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited. Here was my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dusty that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show, because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering the solutions. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, my man, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from those beautiful things Dusty is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to be selfish, and even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing Dusty. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Oh, you're very welcome. And, I love that story of the mango tree. And it reminds me of the power that happens when we pause and reflect on those experiences that have happened for us and that have happened around us that really help us grow. And these things don't happen to us. Like the mango tree, walking past and seeing it empty, you could easily just throw that memory away or throw that event away and not take the power of stepping back to reflect, to understand what it means. And that's really what I call a keystone moment, those moments in our lives where we platform forward because these things have happened for us. They haven't happened to us. And that simple metaphor of being able to say, I saw this and I walked back and I saw it again, but then you chose to learn from it. And that's super cool.
Thank you so very much, man. Keystone moments. I got that. So let's get started, Dusty. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dusty, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance. I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Dusty on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, my man, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So those folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Dusty, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dusty got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Dusty, my man, over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And it's interesting. You use the word curious, and I really love that you use that. It's one of my core values. And I would say that for me, my journey to be this person I am today, not yet the person I want to be because I'm always working on growing and learning, started out of curiosity. And I was, live here in the United States. I was homeschooled. So my primary education was self-taught. It was based on the things that I was interested in learning and the knowledge I could extract from a book. And I agree with you. You're absolutely right. We have so much knowledge around us today. And so it's one thing to be curious about the knowledge. It's another thing to then find ways to apply that information. And that's what turns into knowledge, and that's what turns into wisdom over the years. So I had the very fortunate opportunity to be self-taught, to be very a person who was autodidactic and learned. Went to college, didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but decided that with a business degree I could do anything. And then I fell in love with organizational psychology and management behavior, leadership path, and have spent the last 28 years of my professional career pursuing learning to benefit others. I just believe fervently that the leader's job is to empower the success of others. And so therefore, in order to do that and do that well, you must be curious, you must be humble, you must be dissatisfied with the status quo, and you have to have ownership for who you are as a leader and how you lead yourself. So my privilege has been to serve a number of leaders over the years in the corporations and in corporate roles as president, as CEO, as key executives. And then about a year and a half ago, just started my own leadership consulting firm, really to focus on those things that I am most passionate about, which is how do I and how do leaders navigate key moments of change, inflection points of growth and change, and what do they need to do for themselves and for their teams to ensure their success, to ensure that they are growing and really taking hold of the blessings and gifts that they have been given. And so I've dedicated my life and career to doing exactly that, empowering the success of others and enabling leaders to cross over the chasm of growth, that transformation opportunity that they have in front of them, and become the leader that they need to be for themselves and for their teams.
This is amazing, Dusty. And the fact that you mentioned that your process was quite different. You taught yourself by the knowledge you gained from book and all of those stuffs. And I really wish what you said about leadership can be spread across the whole companies in the world, ministries, and every sector. Because that part where you mentioned that the leader's job is to empower his followers for success. That's a great truth and a very, very profound perspective, because I had a conversation with someone, I think a week ago, and he was telling me about how powerful his leader is and how he's got great influence and how he's so knowledgeable. And he said he's been following this particular man for a long time now. And oh boy, my leader is such a great man. He's such a great this. Then I paused for a moment and I asked him, I said, how influential is this man you're talking about? He said, Elisha, very. I said, how powerful is he? He said, oh boy, so powerful. I said, what about knowledge? What are the things he knows and how effective are those stuffs? He said, oh, beautiful stuffs, I tell you, a series of amazing things that are so productive and effective. Then I said, has he ever taken time to train you to be just like him or even greater than he is? Then he said, Elisha, not yet. And I said, he ain't a true leader. So getting to hear what you said now, that the job of the leader is to empower others for success, that's a great one, my man. And I really wish every leaders out there can understand this truth. So thank you so very much for the beautiful stuff you're doing. And you mentioned that you now have your own leadership consulting agency, which is so beautiful. So I've got some questions here. Are you ready for me?
Let's go.
All right. So what is the secret to successful leadership? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, the secret to success for leadership is stepping back and realizing that in order to lead others well, in order then to lead a company or organization well, you must first lead yourself. And the center point of being able to lead is to lead yourself. And that means you must do so with humility and understand that you don't know everything. You still have a lot to learn, that you have to continually up level and improve yourself so that you can serve others more effectively. Because most often, and one of my mentors shared this with me years and years ago, the thing that got you to where you are, that most successful element, your greatest strength, will become your binding constraint if you aren't actively in the pursuit of ways to stretch and grow, but not for you, not for yourself, but in order to impact the lives of others. So, self-leadership isn't selfish. And I make that very important first distinction. So I think first principle is you have to lead yourself first. Second principle is not for yourself. You are not doing this for you. You are doing this so you can enhance your impact and influence on the lives of others and then create the opportunity. And that's a very important distinction here for them to be successful. We can empower others to have opportunities of success. I want to empower others to be successful. I do not want, nor do I recommend to others that they enable other people's success. That means they are taking on the work and responsibility of others. We can enable them to make good choices. We can enable them to have opportunities. We can empower them with information that allows them to own their success. But we can't do their work and therefore enable them in their roles. And I think that that's an important distinction. So first principle, lead yourself first. Second principle, it's not about you. And third principle is we have to ensure that we empower others to make good choices, but it's up to them to be able to do that.
Beautiful. I got that. And that was a profound one. So let's talk about leadership chaos. All right. So what causes leadership chaos and how can we break free from it?
And when you say leadership chaos, help me understand exactly what you're meaning so I can answer that.
Okay. For instance, when pressure hit or when there is this dysfunctionality within the organization and things aren't going smooth as it is, now your leadership is being questioned. So how can folks conquer things like that, and how can they maintain, should I say, calm under pressure?
Yeah. All right. I fully understand. And I love this question. We often see, and this happens with teams I work with, and I work with CEOs and key executives across the country and across the world. And one of the things that I always see is we talk about problems at an execution level. We're not achieving the results. We're not getting something done. We're not, delivering on what it is that we were committed to doing. And what we have to do is we have to step back and go, is this an execution problem, i.e., we don't have the right resources or the right people in the right spot to deliver the desired results? And oftentimes, and I would say 75 to 80% of the time, what we discover is that we actually have a clarity and alignment issue. We think about this through the lens of, are we crystal clear in what is most important? And are we then building alignment within our teams to focus on those most important things? Because if we have done those two things and done those two things well, then if we have the right people, we can execute. And so we have to first create clarity. We then have to build and create alignment around those most important things, our vision, our goals. And then we have to execute on those. And if we think about it in that three process step, what we often see is we spend all of our time focusing on the symptom, which is an execution issue, without going upstream to solve the root cause. Is, do we have a clarity issue or do we have an alignment issue? And so what I would counsel and the advice I give and the work we do is, how do we ensure that the leader for themselves has clarity, so that they can then cast that clarity into the organization? And it is the casting of their clarity, of what they have crystal clear in their mind, into the organization, either through direct telling or through the questioning and the process of communication, that when they do that and they do that well, they are building alignment. They're connecting the dots for others. And that's what we have to do, is we need to make sure that every person in our organization understands why we're here, where we're going, how we're going to get there, how they fit into that process, and what's in it for them. And that's a 5-question framework that we use with our leadership teams to make sure that we're creating clarity, building alignment, and enabling and empowering our team to then execute.
Wow, that's a beautiful one, and you made that quite easy to understand. I got that. So, you mentioned that you now have your leadership consulting agency. So, how has the journey been so far, and how do you help leaders? Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah. So what we do, and to answer your first question first, it's been incredibly gratifying to work with leadership teams and to work with leaders and have them say things like, I have never been asked this before. I've never thought about these types of things. And I haven't been clear, and now I am. And so now I know where to focus my time, my energy, and my team. And so how we work with leadership teams happens in a couple ways, but the principal way that we work with leaders is we have a Leadership Impact Accelerator for those leaders who are in moments of transformation and change, and they're ready to go to the next level of their leadership influence. We assemble them in groups of 12, a tribe of 12, that walks them through a 12-week process to install their own leadership operating system. And they typically come to us with 3 problems in mind. And these are big problems, big issues, but this is what we see. They are frustrated because there's a gap between the results that they're getting and their vision. They have a vision, they have an idea, they have somewhere they're going, but the results they're delivering don't match that. So they're very, very frustrated with that. The second issue that we see all the time is that people feel overwhelmed. Their question is, why does this always end up on my desk? Why does everything end up on me? Why do I have to make all the decisions, do all the work, etc.? And so we feel people both frustrated and burned out. They get this burnout place because it's all on them, all the pressure, all the weight, and all the tension. And then thirdly is isolation, and leaders feel lonely, and leadership is lonely. It's not just a fun saying or a hard saying. It is the truth, and it's the truth by design, because in certain cases in organizations, there are things you cannot share, that you cannot talk with about in your organization. But leadership being lonely is a choice. You need to surround yourself with other like-minded leaders who are willing to go and grow and help you along the journey. And so what we do is we build these 12-person tribes to install a leadership system, to give tools and frameworks to help them up-level their leadership, and to do so in a manner where they're not alone. And so those are the core programs that we offer. We also do executive coaching and CEO mentoring, but that Leadership Impact Accelerator is the most gratifying work because we get to see people change how they show up as leaders. And that is a forever effect. And it creates an amazing ripple effect when they take it back to their organizations.
I tell you, and that's really, really impactful. And I love it. So to bring this to an end, Dusty, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, let them know about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or ask you questions or join your programs. How can that be possible?
Yeah, there's a final thought I'd love to lead with, and I'll wrap it back to where you started. The metaphor of the mango tree. Those stories, those things that have happened in our lives for us are so important and they're so powerful. And so, what I encourage leaders to do is take the time to reflect, to pause, to recognize those things that have happened for us to make us stronger. Sometimes we don't know them until years later, but we look back and we go, this happened and I grew from it. I am better because of it. And now I get to go do something, teach something, become something better. And so we have a guide that we give our leadership teams, and I'm happy to give it as a gift to your audience. And they can download that guide. That's a structured process to help them identify those things and then take them and make themselves better because of them. And they can get that at mykeystonemoments.com. And that's just very simple, mykeystonemoments.com. It's a gift for you and your audience. And if folks are interested in learning more about me or about our organization, they can find me on LinkedIn, Dusty Holcomb, or they can go to our website, arcqusgroup.com. That's ARCQUS group.com. We have tons of information about our programs. We have all kinds of free leadership tools. But I think if folks really want to just pause, take advantage of that gift and think about those things that have happened for us so that you can show up in a more impactful and meaningful way for the people that you serve.
Beautiful. And that's so generous of you. Thank you so very much. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dusty. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot, man. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.